What's up, money lovers? Welcome back. Another exciting week here. Lots going on in the market. How you doing today, Tim?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Just got back from playing some baseball with my son.
Awesome. I know we got some March Madness games going on tonight, so we'll try
Yeah,
and make
St.
it quick for
Peter's.
everyone. Hopefully, St. Pete's continues the Cinderella story. They've actually been really fun to watch.
Yes, that'll be awesome. The Doug. Got to get the Dougie going.
The stash, yeah, I should shave my beard and just do the stash.
Yeah.
Did you get your Tesla Cyber Rodeo ticket yet? Mine seems to have gotten lost in the mail.
Yeah, mine got lost in the email. It's not in junk. It's not in any of my emails. So no cyber rodeo for me.
It's officially happening, though. Finally got two gigafactories opening now.
Yes. I know that's exciting. And the cyber rodeo, and it's one of the things I wanted to get down to, but I've got just other financial obligations. So I'm not going to be able to make it down there. But just thinking about how Giga Berlin came out and, Elon said what he did, it got a lot of people excited. The stock popped on the news of it. Thinking about this is going to come out 5 days after we get production and delivery numbers. What other information are we going to get? Are we going to get insights into a standard range Model Y coming out? Are we going to get info on a Cybertruck date and time? I don't know, but if anything is like Berlin, we're going to have a nice pop coming out of this.
Yeah, a lot of definitely a lot of possibilities, and excited to hopefully get. I mean, do we know anything about timeline for Master Plan Part 3? I don't know how long it usually takes them to do them, but there's going to be a lot of
No,
info in
I
there.
from what he said, it's coming out soon. I don't know what soon is to him because also, FSD coming out soon to Canada took 3 weeks. So
True.
I don't know. Looking at the last two, they both came out in the summertime. So I don't know if like maybe he's on a mental cycle where summertime is, just the time where he's got everything done. I know for me personally, like springtime is like spring cleaning. I get all my fresh ideas out. So perhaps he's the same way, and then summertime he'll have it finalized and be able to release it.
Yeah, that would make sense. Maybe locks himself away and really gets deep into thought on it.
I
Um,
think the only time he locks himself away and gets deep in thought is when he's in the bathroom on Twitter. So
that is very true. Yeah, all that tweeting, it's impressive. He's able to run all these companies and keep the Twitter so as active as it is.
oh no, I've actually been. I want to ask him. He's got to have a personal assistant. Like, there's
I
no
don't
way he
know.
keeps everything in order himself. But I don't know, like, because just looking at my life, I'm like, I could use a personal assistant, and I'm not running multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yeah,
So
that would be very interesting. I don't know. I
yeah,
feel
I
like
mean,
he the way like they read, it sounds like it's him talking.
yeah.
That
So
would be
so
interesting
I
though.
don't I really don't know. Like, he's got to have somebody who is at least like, hey, here's dinner, here's breakfast, here's your food that you need to do, here's where you're going today. I don't know, or maybe he just
Keep
wings it. Who
just
knows?
keep it all organized. Who knows? So I was just having a debate with someone today. Apparently, it's over. Tesla's losing their market share. Can't even say it with a
That's it.
straight face. And it's just funny. I think back to what Elon was just saying. We'll get into his little speech at Giga Berlin, but he said there's 2 billion cars in the world. I mean, Tesla can capture 1% of that. Would be the 20 million target they have, and they'll still kill competition because Tesla profit margins are just so much higher. I'm going to pull up this little graph here just to give everyone an idea. Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
So here's Tesla's operating profit, their EBIT, compared to Ford and GM. Tesla, basically, Ford and GM have to sell about 6 times as many cars to get as much money as Tesla gets per one car. I mean,
Wow.
are GM and Ford going to be selling 6 times as many cars anytime soon? EVs?
Oh no. I mean, there's no way. And you got to remember that they're getting rid of their ICE vehicles. So now, is this here based on just their EVs or all of their vehicles?
That's a good question. I Per car sold, I think it's on all of them
Okay. All
because
right.
yeah, they don't even really have the because this is for 2021. Yeah, they don't even have
Okay. Okay.
the EVs.
So, and now
And
this
I
is crazy because as far as I know, and we'll find out for sure, obviously not till 2023 with Ford. But from what I know, neither of them are profitable on their EVs. So if you put
yeah,
EVs in there, it'd be even bigger of a gap.
Yeah, you know, it definitely it's all cars because 2.8 million, you know,
Oh
for
yeah, yeah,
GM and Ford here. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I just thought that was really interesting. I want to see how, you know, and this is the other argument I've trying to been making to people. You know, the market share doesn't matter for electric vehicles. There's enough runway for all the EV companies to really prosper and get a significant portion. Who really is going to suffer is the ICE vehicles because for every one new EV, it's going to be one less ICE vehicle on the road. And just like you said, they're going to have to cut, you know, down that they're working against themselves.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it, and it's the same argument, and I don't know how much clearer I can make it. It's yes, Tesla's going to lose market share. That is math, straight math. Yes, the more people who are coming out and produce more vehicles, it's impossible for them to keep a market share that high. Similar to Apple with the smartphone and the and everything, but you got to go into look at EVs are just a small, tiny piece of the entire automotive market, which over the next 10 to 15 years will become all EVs. So, yes, you have to remove all of the ICE vehicles from the legacy automakers and replace it with EVs. Are they going to have an even swap over the next 10 years? Absolutely not. There's no way.
Right.
So, yes, Tesla's going to lose market share, but they're going to gain on the entire automotive market share. And
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to.
I've got I have some noise in the background here. Can you hear?
Barely, nothing really.
Okay, all right. My dogs are barking at something, of course. And then another interesting graph here is that Tesla, how much they spend on R&D and advertising per car sold.
Oh,
So
yes, I saw this.
Tesla, you saw this one, is about
Yeah.
$3,000 on ad spend. Or sorry, not on ad spend. They don't do any ad spend on R&D per car sold, which is triple that of, you know, any of the competitors, Ford, Toyota, GM, Chrysler. In some cases, are less than that, less than one third of that. And meanwhile, they've got the added expense of all of the ad spend that they, you know, have to advertise to sell vehicles because they have to trick people into buying the inferior products. Of course, Tesla doesn't have that issue. They're actually most of their models was reading are sold out until 2023 at this point.
Yeah. And one of the things I thought about earlier today was legacy automotive makers are basically value plays in the automotive world, whereas Tesla is a growth play. And when you get a value play, what ends up happening in order to get more and more profits every year, you have to spend money on advertising because that's how you get more people to buy your vehicles. And you have to raise prices every single year in order to gain more profit because you've already basically cut all the costs you can possibly cut out of your manufacturing process. So they really can't make themselves any more lean than they already are without completely ripping apart everything and having a brand new factory built, which they are doing for EVs. But that's going to take a few years for them to get there. So, because of the fact that they're doing this, ICE vehicles have to, based upon profits that they need to keep on generating and grow every year, their profits and their vehicle prices have to keep going up, whereas EV prices are going to be coming down. And so, again, this just goes back to legacy automotive is going to be cannibalizing themselves, and the higher priced vehicles that are going to be ICE vehicles, they have to get rid of. So, it's a hard place to be in. I mean, it's not going to be easy to be legacy auto, but I mean, just looking at the challenges that they're about to go through, and it's, I think, harder for legacy auto to get through this than it's going to be for a startup to get through it.
That's a great point, and that's something I've actually been thinking about a lot lately. You know, I've been meaning to. I want to definitely do a deep dive on Polestar soon, and I've been thinking about that. Like, what is more difficult? You know, the legacy automotives obviously have more cash, but do they really, with all the debt and having to wind down, you know, the costs associated with winding down the ICE business? I don't know. Like there's definitely advantages to both. I mean, you know, maybe the startups are running obviously a more capital light business, but they're going to be losing money probably for the foreseeable future. And you know, just going back to this chart here, I mean, this is the type of stuff, you know, Tesla putting triple the amount of dollars into R&D as the competitors. This is the type of intangible things that Tesla has that you're not, you know, you're not going to see these effects play out. I mean, you're seeing it play out. They have the best car, but when you think about people catching up, how does a competitor catch up when Tesla has the best model, they're pumping the most money back into R&D, and they're attracting the best talent? I mean, we looked at the graphic of, you know, where do all of the young engineers coming out of college want to work? Number one, Tesla. Number two, SpaceX. So how does the competitor catch up when they can't spend as much money and they can't get as good a talent?
Oh yeah, and R&D, obviously, you can spend 10 times as much as Tesla, but if you're not utilizing that money in a wise manner, it's not going to matter. Tesla has clearly proven that the money they put into R&D is getting a huge return on that investment.
Right, right.
And I don't know, and looking at GM and Ford and what they're putting money into, R&D into Nikola, that was great. Lordstown Motor, that went over really well. So what other investments are they making with their R&D money, and is it actually going to give them any return on that investment?
Yeah, that's definitely a great point too. And we've talked about that in previous episodes here of the Oracle Investment Club / Tesla Weekly. We're gonna have to say I kind of like both.
Yeah.
But in other news, Hertz adding the Tesla Model Y now to their fleet. I'm not sure. Do you know how many of the 100K Model 3s were delivered? I know that it's definitely not complete yet. So I wonder
Yeah,
what the timeline is.
that I don't know. And I mean, from everything I have heard, is Hertz had to order it just like you and I. There was no
Yep.
special deal for anything. So I would imagine, I don't know when they placed them all. I don't know if they placed all 100,000 all at once, because I would imagine if they did that, then they would be kind of trickling along as the lead time is going. But if they
Yeah.
were placing in increments, they would just be next in line whenever they placed it. So if
Right.
they're placing orders now for Model Ys, they won't see them till 2023 probably.
And it's just incredible. I mean, yeah, Elon had said they're not getting any special treatment. They have to wait just like everyone else. So I know they've gotten some of them, but I doubt they've gotten close to the 100K. But just the
Yeah.
fact that Tesla, there's that branding, there's that pricing power. Just kind of talking again about these intangible things. Who else could have ever had this deal to sell 100K cars to a rental company and gone full sticker price to the
Oh
customer
yeah.
sticker price? I mean, it's unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, with GM and Ford, whenever they made deals, I was reading up on it, and it was the same thing. They would basically sell it at dealer costs to these guys because it was, a partnership that they had. And of course, they always made special deals for them. They made special vehicles for them. I'm like, GM and Ford would not have been able to pull this off like Tesla did. There's no way.
Very true. And it's funny. I don't see any Hertz orders for F-150 Lightnings. We'll
Nope.
see. We'll see if those come. I mean, maybe then we'll give them a second look.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I have heard the Mach E has, I don't know who has it, but there is a rental place who has the Mach E. Not obviously not 100,000 of them, but they are renting them out.
all right. In other news, so Elon just did a pretty interesting interview. Touched on a lot of different things from Ukraine to the robot to just life. And he said that he thinks they will have something pretty good for the prototype for the Optimus subprime humanoid robot prototype this year, and it may be ready for at least a moderate volume production toward the end of next year.
Yeah, and when he said moderate volume, I'm like, what does moderate volume mean? Are we talking like a dozen of them? How quickly can we produce them? Is it 100? I don't know. And I just did my video on discussing just that and what implications this means for his master plan. And so the way I looked at it was, even if they produce 12 of them next year, whatever it is, Elon said that the first ones that they have are going to be used in their own factories. So, in talking with one of my subscribers, said that, I think it was 2017 or 2018 when they were doing the Model 3, they couldn't even get their AI robots to be able to put in like hoses and stuff on one of the vehicles because it wasn't consistent enough. So I'm like, now AI I know has come a long way since then. So I'll be curious to see what different jobs they're going to be utilizing the Tesla bots for in the factories, because obviously this is going to help them grow. And I think it'll be very similar to like an FSD beta, where they're going to use these Tesla bots in the factories and they're going to, monitor things. They're going to have little safeties here and there to check on it. And, they'll be able to tweak the AI as it goes to help it learn and become better and more efficient at what it's doing. And I would say if, they're pushing AI the way they're going, by 2024, 2025, they'll have Tesla bots in factories that are good enough to be able to sold to other factories, and other factories are going to use them for manufacturing. Then I thought about, Well, if we're trying to get to extreme size for the company, how do we get there? Elon's already said that labor is an issue. So, well, what if we replace labor with the Tesla bots? Now, all of a sudden, we're going to be ramping 10 to 15 gigafactories with Tesla bots that don't need to sleep and only need to charge. You're going to cut costs down because you don't have to pay them, 401k benefits, anything like that. You don't have to pay them, period. You just have to, pay to produce them, and then you don't have to take your time to interview people and go through that whole process. It's going to make their whole piece so much more efficient. Even if you only have 10% of your workforce as Tesla bots, that's 10% more efficient on the labor end of things. And so getting to extreme size with Tesla bots is potentially a good reality that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A little bit would really go a long way. I mean, one robot is one salary of whatever, six figures or how much they're making that you don't have to pay. And the stuff with the robots is crazy because they already do so much. So much is already automated in the factories when you look at these videos. And doing a little bit more, I think, is not as far fetched as it may seem. And then additionally, when you just factor in the fact that the other companies can't compete the way things are now, well, how are they going to compete when Tesla becomes even more efficient? Those profit margins go from 30 to 40%. It'll be really interesting to see. The Tesla bot is a wild card because obviously we have nothing currently, but just slight improvements with that, getting it to do anything in the factory is just going to
Oh,
continue to
yeah.
help. They already are doing it, and you think about the issue with these robots has always been, if you look at like the Boston Dynamics ones, they don't have the vision yet, but that's what FSD seems to be solving. Is like it does have the vision, so now just applying the car can see. Now you just apply that onto a humanoid robot with two legs, and it doesn't seem as far fetched or crazy as it may seem.
Oh yeah, and you think about, when we see videos all the time on TikTok and stuff about dogs helping out in workplaces. And what do you pay a dog? You pay it in treats or whatever. It doesn't matter. So that's basically free labor. You're going to get the same thing out of your Tesla bots, except you're going to be able to create them and have them do even more stuff than a dog would be able to do. And then I went further down the road and I was like, well, here's the rabbit hole. Let's keep on going. Well, now you're going to have these Tesla bots working in a factory with other humans. And these humans are going to be like, wow, that Tesla bot really gets this stuff done. I would love to have one in my home to help me with the laundry, to help me with dishes. So now that chatter is going to be going on. And that's going to be obviously something pops in Elon's head. They're going to start working on the AI for stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Tesla factory workers are going to have Tesla bots in their home. And hey, this is great. And instead of having a Roomba or Alexa, you've got Optimus.
Right. There's so much possibility. It's very exciting to see what's going to happen there. Just some other quotes from the interview. When Elon was asked, what does he most urgently want to achieve? He said, in the short run, the most pressing is completing full self-driving so that we have full self-driving operating at a substantially safer level than humans. Comes down to solving the problem of real-world AI that consumes a lot of my mind and getting the Starship to work. And he thinks that those things may happen this year. I mean, we keep the FSD. There's no denying it's improving. With every update, and the hardest part is obviously going to be that last 1% with like freak type scenarios of just crazy things that you can't really you can only account for so much. I mean, just the regular driving is there.
Yeah, and actually, I just right before we hopped on here, I was on Twitter, and Omar had said something about FSD 10.11 being so much better, and Elon said 10.12 is coming out, working on some hard left turns and things like that, and he said they're getting even closer to single stack. I know initially he said single stack they were trying to get out for February. Obviously, we are past that, but we know Elon's timelines are really aggressive. So even if they come out with single stack by summertime, I still think that's doing great. And I have debates all the time with people about Elon and his timelines, because on one hand, when he comes up with a timeline and we miss it, the bears jump all over it and they're like, aha, see, they can't come through with it. They're false promises. Elon never follows through. He never completes things. I'm like, well, first off, he always completes everything he says he's going to do so far. It's just not in the time frame he gives it. But on the other hand, I think that by him putting these timelines out there that are aggressive, it puts, a fire under his butt and, his engineers' butts to be like, all right, now we've got to get this done. And Elon's quote, years ago about, if you've got a project that you think is going to take 10 years, try to get it done in 6 months. You most likely won't succeed, but you'll get it done a lot sooner than somebody who just accepted it was going to take 10 years. So, even if, FSD doesn't come out till next year at level 4, so be it. Most other manufacturers aren't looking to get there until 2025 or 2026.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said, great, really great points. I agree with 100%. And just the part about goals, I mean, it's so true. And I was just reading something recently. It's like, that's how you maximize productivity. You set the bar high, even if it's too high to possibly achieve, you're going to get closer to it than you ever would have setting, regular goals that, you're not going to work as hard. It's just, it's simple. And I think he's, realized that these timelines is what, Wall Street really has punished them for. But setting the bar high, like long term, I'm completely fine with that. Like, let's shoot for the stars here. You're going to get more done than anybody else. Like, that's for sure. I mean, it's just, it's proven, and it makes a lot of sense. So I'm
Oh
all
yeah.
for these huge goals that seem so far out of reach. I mean, they're definitely, you're going to get there eventually, and they're going to get way further than, anyone else in the meantime by doing that.
Yeah, it's like playing a video game on easy. You can play it on easy and you can, let's say you're playing Madden football. You beat your opponent 300 to nothing. But what do you gain out of that? Nothing. It feels great. You just ran over your opponent. Awesome. But you didn't learn how to play the game any better. Whereas if you played it on hard and maybe lost 3-0, you just learned how to do a lot more stuff along the way. And that's what Tesla is doing. And Elon is pushing them because the more they do this, and because they are so agile and move so quickly, they're learning so much faster. And that's how you learn, is by doing, and they're doing faster than everybody else.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely true. And then there was one other fun quote from the interview. He basically was asking Elon about, philanthropy, and he kind of just emphasized, obviously, Tesla and SpaceX are just for the betterment of humanity, improving the quality of our future. Tesla accelerating sustainable energy. And how that's, more than he's able to do himself. Like, obviously, donating money, even though he'd made the biggest donation in history, probably, he's able to accomplish more through these companies. And there's a big difference in, like, the reality of doing good and the perception of doing something good. So, people give him such a hard time, but it's like, you really pay attention, like, you can tell, like, he's just a genuine dude who is just trying to save the planet, to give us, more opportunity, get us to Mars. And, while he could just donate it all, I mean, we probably are better off letting him allocate the capital effectively. I mean, he's doing both. So I
Yeah.
just don't understand how he still gets a hard time from
Oh,
a lot of
well,
people.
it drives me nuts, and it's all because people are like, "Oh, well, he has more than I do, so I need to bring him down to my level." And I know me, Kevin had a video the other day about, same thing about Home Depot, where, like, whatever it is, there was people at different levels, and they're trying to bring them down to their level. It's like, no, no, let's just bring the other people up. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So let's help other people to get to the other levels. And when it comes to Elon, it's like, yes, I understand that there's a lot of billionaires out there, Jeff Bezos, whoever, they've got these offshore accounts. They do a lot of things for themselves, and if these CEOs, if their companies went under, they would be perfectly fine. Whereas Elon, if his companies went under, he goes under. Like, he
He's
has
fully,
everything
yeah,
invested in them. And, sure, some people may not believe or, feel like going to Mars is helping humanity out. But regardless, he feels like he is helping humanity out in many, many ways. And so he's genuinely trying to help everybody and help humanity, and so he's investing his time, money, resources, everything about him is invested in helping humanity out. So whether you believe in whatever his goal is or not, you got to believe the fact that he is genuinely trying to help us.
right. And it's so true. And just, actions speak louder than words. And I would hope, if you're really paying attention to everything he's been doing, especially you look at this stuff with Ukraine, he talks about that in the interview too. Very interesting that he's just trying to do what will have the best effect. And he admitted, he's like, it doesn't always, I make mistakes, but he's making these decisions thinking it has good intentions, and it will do the most good for the highest number of people.
Right. Yeah. And I remember, like, looking back at, I can't remember what interview it was. It was sometime, I think, in 2020. And he was talking about, obviously nobody wants anybody to die in the process of coming up with new technology. He goes, but unfortunately that happens, and you're never going to be able to get yourself to the next level to protect more people if you're not willing to sacrifice some things along the way. And unfortunately, death is part of that. Death is a reality. And realistically, we don't want that to happen. But if we're having, I'm just throwing out numbers here. I don't know if they're true, but let's say you have 10,000 people die every day in a car accident. Well, if in the process of learning how to make it, 1,000 people per day, you gotta, have, 5,000 people die, is it worth it? And obviously making that decision is a difficult decision. You don't want that to happen, but you're going to be saving 9,000 people a day by having 5,000 people die once.
It
you know,
isn't. It's interesting too. Just to, I think officially at least so far, no one has died in an FSD accident. There's been a couple, right? But not at least not that the FSD was in control. Is my
yeah,
understanding.
actually, as a matter of the last numbers I knew is there were zero deaths. Actually, I don't even know if there were any injuries with any FSD accidents. Because every single time there was an accident that FSD was potentially involved in, they determined that FSD was either shut off, disengaged, or whatever it was. It was not FSD that caused it.
Right.
And that's the other
Um,
beef too that I have with a lot of people out there. Taylor drives me nuts on Twitter. A guy who says he's a Tesla bull, but all he does is bash Tesla. It's like, if you were really a bull, but you were in the middle, you would give us the pros and cons. But all the dude gives us is cons about it. And it's like,
Same
why?
with that guy Dan O'Dowd. It's like these
Oh
people
yeah,
clearly have vested interest in Tesla failing. They've got their own investments that it's
right.
criminal. It should all have to be disclosed, because they're just spreading FUD and they're benefiting from it. Whether what they say and what they say and what they're doing are two different things. And it is definitely frustrating that they're just
Yeah.
trying to sabotage something that is going to save lives.
Right, and not only that, but it's an FSD beta program. Like they're like, oh, you're sacrificing people. You're the guinea pigs, and it's like people are signing up. They said, I want to be a guinea pig. It's not like Elon and
That's
Tesla are
true.
out there saying you have to do this. They said, hey, who wants to do this? And people signed up for it. It's
Right.
no different from the military. So
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. It's purely voluntary. I mean, I guess moving on to some we have any delivery estimates? I was looking for 2021 Q1. Tesla delivered 185,000 vehicles. What do you think they're going to do? We get the Q1 results should be within the next week, right?
yeah, we should be getting those on April 2nd. So it will be next Sunday. So for episode number 6, we can discuss that if they come out in time. I am looking for, I think production delivery, at least for the next year and a half, are going to be about the same. We know that we had actually finally some overproduction in the first couple of months of the year out of Shanghai. So I'm predicting about 327,000 vehicles produced and delivered around there. So between 325 and 330. I
Okay.
believe consensus estimates are like 305 to 310. So I'm a little bit north of those. But I
And
think
that
anything over 300,000 is going to be a solid number.
yeah, I mean that would be way over, almost 100% growth quarter over quarter or Q1 of 2021 to Q2 or sorry, Q1 of 2022. But yeah, I mean definitely over the 50% growth goal that they've posted.
Oh yeah, yeah, and thinking about if they hit 300,000, you can then say, well, annualized we're looking at 1.2 million. And it's like, but then you still have to factor in the further expansion ramp of Shanghai. We haven't even started ramping Berlin or Austin yet. So even if you get just 100,000 out of each of those two, that's already 1.4, and that doesn't even include further ramping of the other factories.
Right, right. Was there anything else we wanted to get to? I have one fun thing I wanted to end on here, but anything else
On
first?
I Nope, everything on my list. We had such an exciting week with Berlin's,
Yeah, there's
but
a
I think we.
lot, a lot happening.
Oh yeah, I think we hit it all. So what else you got?
So I was thinking, so if you wanted to retire on Tesla shares by 2030, how many shares would you need? I'm thinking today, if they're $1,000 a share, I figure I mean, everyone's different, obviously, but personally, I figure to live comfortably. I mean, if you had $1 million, you could get a 5-10% return a year. That's plenty of money for me. So let's say today, 1,000 Tesla shares would be $1 million. How many shares do you think you would need, with how much Tesla's gonna grow come 2030?
Man, I think so. Based right now, and in 2 weeks, I'm going to be updating my price targets. But as of right now, my price target for 2030, end of 2030, is about $10,000. So it kind of makes it pretty easy and straightforward. So you're looking at, was that 100 shares to get us to $1 million?
10,000 would be, yeah, 100 shares.
So 100 shares, as with today's price before any other splits that could potentially happen. So you have 100 shares from today. So I think as of right now, my baseline price target's about 10K for end of 2030. So yeah, 100 shares.
Definitely,
And
definitely
right
gotta.
now I have between my two accounts 12 shares.
Okay,
So
okay. We're gonna have to revisit that definitely. And when you factor in, yeah, if Tesla's gonna grow 50% a year on average for the next 8 years, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it sounds insane. That would give them a $10 trillion market cap, but I don't think it is as insane as it may sound.
yeah, and honestly, most of my price target is based off of just their EVs. I've got a little bit of energy in there, not a lot of robo taxi revenue because I'm more of a see it and believe it kind of guy, and I have faith and I believe that they're going to get there, but we don't have anything tangible to attach to it yet. Same thing with Optimus. So
Yeah.
if they do solve FSD the end of this year, that's going to change a lot of price targets, not just mine, but a lot of people are going to be like,
Oh
all
yeah.
right, time to include that revenue.
With FSD is, oh my god, I don't even know that we can really quantify it yet. But I agree. I look at it the same way. I'm just looking, with the EVs and the other segments of business. What we have today, it's mainly EVs. We've got a little from the solar and the energy business. But do you have a projection how many vehicles they're going to sell in 2030 or?
2030. Actually, let me see if I've got it up on my screen here too.
Because I think we've talked about in the past. I mean, for them to sell 10 million cars steady today, I mean, we're talking like $150 billion in gross profit, and that would put them up there with like Apple right now. And that's just selling 10 million EVs, not accounting for the solar business, the energy business, which with this whole auto bidder thing and pumping the electricity back onto the grid and selling it could very well be a bigger business opportunity than the electric vehicles are. And we could go down the rabbit hole for the other 8 startups that are built into Tesla too. I mean, you could easily assign, each one it's a $1 trillion market. So I don't think 10
Yeah.
trillion, to sum it up, is as far fetched as it sounds today.
No, and so the way I do my base model, and I adjusted it a few months ago, when Elon had one of his interviews and he said, I'm a guy who you don't need to read between the lines, just need to read the lines. So when he said 20 million is going to be what we produce at the end of 2030, that's what I put down for my baseline vehicle delivery number is 20 million. So I set that up at 20 million. I think that they're going to exceed that, but just for a baseline number, if that's what Elon is shooting for, that's what we're going for. And so yeah, so 20 million vehicles produced with a price target of about $10,000, and that's, like I said, no FSD, and so I think the only way you can quantify FSD is what Kathy Wood and ARC did, was looking at Uber and Lyft and saying, all right, well, how many vehicles are they utilizing? What do they charge? If you knock it down to, let's say, 10 cents a mile for an FSD robo taxi, you can at least run those numbers based upon that to generate some revenue, and that's
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, definitely looked at those. We could pull those up again next week and maybe try and map out, some possibilities to it. But I
Yeah.
think that's a good place to wrap up on. We got some
Oh yeah.
basketball to go watch. Go
Yes.
Peacocks.
Yes.
Thanks everyone for
Looking
coming
forward to it.
on. Thanks for coming, Tim.
No problem.
And we'll see everybody next week.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye bye.